Hi brothers and sisters from NUMSA, South Africa. My name is Valter Sanches. I'm the former International and General Secretary of CNM Brasil. I'm very sorry for not being there with you at the International Colloquium on Alternative Development, but unfortunately I couldn't attend. But I'll try to participate in this way through this video so that I can make my contribution to your very important debate, to which I congratulate with you, and especially with my brothers Cedric, Christine, Jim, and Carl, the ones that I know better, and extremely sorry for not being, and hope this can help somewhat in the debate, the very important debate that I'm very curious to get all the information after it finishes. Well, from my point of view, the contribution about Brazil in this specific issue, I would say that in Brazil we were, I think we were very happy to be able, during dictatorship times, through the 60s, 70s and 80s, we were very happy to have the chance to put up a strategy to rebuild the union movement, rebuild an independent workers' party, and that led us to the creation of the Workers' Party in 1980 and the CUT, the Trade Union Central, in 1983, and that led us to a different perspective of the social movement, not only of questioning, trying to put down the dictatorship that went through 1985, but also to resist the challenges of being led by a neoliberalistic government since then. Well, I think the creation of these both very important organisms, the CUT and the PT, the Workers' Party, were very important to develop a new strategy, an alternative program for development in the country that was built before PT reached the government. That happened in 2002. And this alternative program was totally based on social inclusion, because Brazil historically was led by the elite, was led by a minority, and for 500 years that was the history of having a country that only served to external interests, mostly the interests that we all know, the imperialistic interests of the world. And the proposal of this alternative program that was based on social inclusion, that was something that was built before, that was a program that was built and was the campaign that PT made during several elections during the period before PT won the elections for the federal government in 2002. And that, when PT took the government in 2003, it started to build up programs that was put in place to try to make the social inclusion the engine to put forward the development of the country. And then I would say that the first of measures of the Lula government in 2003, this Zero Hunger program, that then evolved for a program called Bolsa Familia, that was the social program to transfer of income to people that had absolutely no possibility of only any other income. That was the program that was very important. And I would say that during this 12 years of the 2 mandates of Lula and then of the 2 years of Dilma, they were responsible for the social inclusion of about 40 million people that came out of the poverty, and about 20 million people that raised for the social standards like the middle class patterns. And that, I would say that four basic phenomena were responsible for this, for the creation of this movement, the social movement that people coming up in the social scale, and that were basically the social programs, the real increase of the minimum wage, and I would say that in these 12 years we had about 70% real increase on the top of inflation of the period. And because of this economic growth, the organized labor the unions could lead to movements, and the social movements were also struggling very hard to have a real increase on the top of inflation. Just to give an example, the metal branch in Brazil, in these 12 years, we had about 32% average real increase on the top of inflation of the period. So that made us all this movement all together. They were responsible for the main motor for the growth of the country, the growth of the economy in these years, and that led to 19 million new jobs that were created during this 12 million. During this 12 years of history of the government of PT in the program. And I would say that especially because of what was going on in the world in this period, with the crisis in 2008, Brazil was a country that went out of this trend global. And I would say also that not only the policies of the government, because it's a very complicated alliance in the government, because Brazil has a very weird political system in which the PT, the Workers' Party, the party of the president, has only about 18% of the Congress. All the left parties together, they have about a little less than 30% of the Congress. So that leads to a very complex system in which alliances have to be made so that you can run the government and put forward the policies. It's very complicated. And in this particular area, the other thing that is very important is the independency of the CUT. I would say CUT is also supportive of the project of this popular government, but also playing a very clearly independent role. Because during this period, we never stopped struggling, demonstrating, putting pressure on the government, putting pressure on the Congress, so that the social policies were put forward, make progresses and all that. And I would say that in all this struggle together, I will put one of that was very important, and I think that you are discussing it as well, which is the struggle for a new industrial policy for Brazil. And that's the responsibility of the social and labor movement together. Because in 2010, the economic growth was so good, foreign investment was coming, everything looked fine, but the union movement gave a warning to the government that we were having lots of imports, and when this growth should cool a little bit down, we should have problems. And we made the government to see that, because we demonstrated, we went to the streets, we blocked the roads, we did a very mass movement to put the government to look into what we were putting as a proposal. And that was very important to have, that the government was responsive to that and created first the program called Brasil Maior. That was 3 part-time chambers of negotiation for all these 14 different industrial sectors. And after that, what we call Inovar-Auto Program, which is a program that is based, that incentives to companies that install auto plants in Brazil instead of importing parts, and that is also for the whole supply chain. And that was responsible for, after this program was announced, that was in 2012, after that 26 new auto plants were decided to be put in Brazil, to be invested in Brazil. and not only the ones that are already here, but newcomers, and then that will lead to a second phase of more employment and more power to the labor to make good advances in the wages, and that again being a good possibility of social inclusion through the impact of these wages and more jobs into the economy back. So I think that is a process that we're carrying on, keeping ourselves independent, and putting pressure on the government, and the government itself taking advantage of our pressure to put forward in this alliance to put the program of social inclusion forward. And I think that is the reason why Brazil is having is not following the trend of the whole world, which is into recession, into unemployment, and is going forward. And I think that's also another aspect of that is the relation from Brazil into with the other countries, building new alliances like the EBAs with India, South Africa, like the BRICS alliances. So all of these new geopolitical alliances that Brazil is carrying on with South America as well is bringing new challenge for the imperialism, and I think we're in the right way, and I'm very happy to be part of it, and especially that the union movement is also putting forward proposals to work together, especially the ones from the South. And I hope this alliances from CNM CUT, from the CUT, with NUMSA and COSATO goes forward as we are having in this last year. And I hope that you have a wonderful conference, and I hope that you bring good proposals, and I'm very curious to have to be in touch with that after you finish. Thank you very much. In solidarity, and Amandla.